All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, Lydia, welcome. Great to see you. Angela, great to have you on. Regina, welcome, 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 everyone. Greetings, Gail. Please go ahead and drop your location. Troy, what's going on? What's going on? Drop your location. Hey, Ron, great to see you on. All right, Monty, great to see you on. All right, great to have you, Michelle. Great to see you, Joyce. Daryl, Pearl, please drop your locations, guys. We're excited to have you here on today. I'm excited to have you on here today. Neil Hood, all right, representing Atlanta. Brad, Palm Desert. All right, Paula, great. Charlotte, hello. All right, Lavon, Huntsville, Alabama, great to have you on. Great to have you on, Barbara. All right, Kim, great to see you. All right, Deborah, Philadelphia in the house. Steve, great to see you, my man. Great to see you. Sharon, all right. Brooklyn, Brooklyn's in the house. I see you, Evan. I see you. Come on in, everyone. Come on in. Derek out in Canada, great to see you, my friend. Great to have you on. Maritza, Washington, D.C., great to see you. All right, all right. Welcome, 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 everyone. My beautiful wife, Andrea C. Scott. Welcome, welcome, welcome. John, great to see you out there in California. All right, everyone. Come on in. Come on in. Go ahead and take this moment right now to invite someone. Robert, great to have you on, my friend. Damon King out of Oklahoma. Great to see you, Damon. Great to have you on. Robin, Lakeland, Florida. Guys, you still got a moment to go ahead and drop your link to invite someone. I promise you, this will be something that they will thank you for. This is a time for us to truly come together. Andre, welcome here in Jacksonville, Florida. Great to have you. Gary in Baton Rouge. Kevin, great to have you in Cape Coral. All right, all right. Andrew's in Puerto Rico. Let's go, let's go. Great to have you guys on. This is the time. We got 66 days left. 66 days left in 2025. Now is the time for us to get positioned to take action on these ideas. And I'm grateful to have you, each and every one of you, on here on today. We're going to be starting in just a moment. Go ahead and take one more minute to make your invites. Go ahead and make out your simple announcements. Invite someone on. You don't want them to miss this opportunity to connect and to grow. All right. Waiting on my engineers to tell me if we're set. You guys go ahead and grab your pen and paper, grab you some coffee. Great to have you on, Shelly. Great to have you on, Carl. Great to have each one of you. I see that you got your notes, but make sure you got a pen and paper as well. We want to make sure that you actually put this into practice. Remember what I've said before. If I tell you, you'll forget. If I teach you, you'll remember. But if I involve you, you will learn. So in this moment, I want you to be proactive about your learning. This is the time right now for you to be proactive about your learning. Welcome, Vana. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get set up so that we can get started on today. Let's make sure you guys can see my screen. Let's make sure that you are ready to go. All right, all right. So let's see here. How we looking, team? Are we set? All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. I see you, Kate. Great. All right, thank you. All set, all set. All right, let me go ahead and expand this view for everyone. And we're going to get on here and get started. Make sure you guys keep the chat active. You can drop your questions in advance, but just know on the back end, we're going to be doing a live Q&A. And that's really what's special about today. And that's really what I want each one of you guys to have access to. So let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Nate Scott. I want to welcome each one of you. I'm here in Jacksonville, Florida with my lovely wife, Andrea C. Scott, and I bridge AI leadership and finance to help executives scale profitably while equipping engineers and professionals to embrace AI with confidence and clarity. The whole idea is practical AI for growth and culture. But let's talk about real people and real freedom. let's talk about the fact that we all have our own background and our own stories. I'm a former enlisted soldier and combat veteran. As I walked the perimeter during Operation Desert Storm at 19, I said, Lord, if you allow me to make it back, I'll never waste a day of my life. From there, I went on to West Point, where I graduated with degrees in engineering and sociology. And the week that I graduated from West Point, I got introduced to personal growth and development and entrepreneurship via network marketing. Now, I wasn't drawn into the opportunity. That was not the thing for me. But my mind was blown because I never knew about picking up books and going to seminars and being around successful people. And so as I've spoken around the world, I tell people, take over my West Point degree, which is engineering and sociology, take over my MBA from George Washington University, financial planning from Georgetown University. When I learned to pick up books and going to seminars and being around successful people, that's what laid the foundation for everything else I've done in my life. And that's the reason why I'm so passionate about inviting people into this space to continue to learn and to grow. I'm about educating, equipping, and empowering, and that's what I promise you'll receive today. I'm a former wealth advisor, a former tax franchise owner, former CFO of an Inc. 500 fastest growing company, former real estate investor of over 40 units, with my largest being a single 40-unit apartment complex, and I reached the status of millionaire by the age of 32. I shared that not to impress you, but to impress upon you and to say, hey, listen, you may have some of those things in your background as well. You may have worked a full-time job as a W-2 employee. You may have given your interest in real estate and may have dabbled in that area. Maybe you started some type of a business. Wherever you're at, these are some things I want you to know that we probably have some parallel, but also to understand that there's still the possibility that there's a gap. On July 8th, 2015, as I was leaving LA Fitness, I passed a pink Cadillac. I didn't see the person driving the vehicle, but I saw it as a status symbol. So I pulled on the side of the road, and as she drove by, I flagged her down. I gave her a copy of my book, and I said, read this. If you get any value from it, you can pay for it later. Where she went left, I went right. She contacted me on July 26th, telling me she'd read it. She shared it with 30 of her directors, and they all wanted it. From there, she asked me to do a conference call with over 200 of her ladies. I said, bring the husbands on. And then after that, she asked me to do a live event. And then she paid $4,500 to work with me for 90 days as her coach. Well, family, we developed a friendship. And then less than a year meeting at the stop sign, we married. I give you that backstory because the beautiful woman that stands beside me is Andrea C. Scott. She's a network marketing professional with over 30 years in the home-based business space. She's the youngest Black woman in the history of Mary Kay Cosmetics to be a national sales director. And then she retired, fully vested in January 2020. But here's the thing. When she hired me as her coach, I gave her some instructions. She delayed taking actions on those instructions by a year. And as a result, it cost her over $250,000. What's the lesson? The lesson is that the two biggest expenses that we pay are ignorance and taxes. What was the lesson that I wanted to bring forth to you guys, for me personally, was that I had a tax bill of over $105,000 as someone with my financial background, as someone that's owned a tax franchise, but also as someone that valued expertise. And so when I hired Courtney Epps, my tax strategist, in December 2020, the first thing I asked her to do was to go back and amend a tax return. And as a result of her doing her work and bringing her expertise to the table, I ended up getting a refund of $32,000. That's how I discovered what the IRS doesn't want you to know. And so for that, I want to say today is all about you. It's all about you. Knowledge is information. Understanding is comprehension. But wisdom is applied knowledge. Knowledge is information. Understanding is comprehension. But wisdom is applied knowledge. On today, I want you to be a student. I want you to play full out. I want you to engage. I want you to really think about what's being shared with you. And I want you to ask some critical questions. And that is, are you doing all that you can do to maximize the opportunity that's available in this country in which people like me have fought and served for. My heart's desire for each and every one of you today is that you walk away educated, equipped, and empowered, and that you actually take action. Knowledge is information, understanding is comprehension, but wisdom is applied knowledge. If I tell you, you'll forget. If I teach you, you'll remember. If I involve you, you'll learn. Today, walk away ready to take some action over these last 66 days of the year that will be for you and your family, not just this year, but year after year after year. And so today, I want to introduce you to my tax strategist, Courtney Epps. Courtney, if you're ready, dear, I want you to go ahead and come forward and let's go ahead and educate this encouraged group we have today.
Hello. That was awesome, Nate. I love it. I mean, you're so good. I haven't heard you in a while. Gosh, it's been years since we did that podcast, right? Yeah. So that fired me up. That got me super excited. So everybody, I'm just going to get started really quickly because I want to go into some detail on how you guys can free up more of your hard-earned money today. And yep, Kate, thank you so much for the slides. So welcome everybody. So thankful for Nate. He's been my client for, gosh, it seems like 5 years now. So super happy for him and happy about what we're going to share with you today is literally the hidden strategies that you should start implementing today that can put another $10,000 back in your pocket, help you keep more of your hard-earned money. And plus, I wanted to share some simple tax strategies to help you save up to 50% more of your income by the end of the year. So if you're up for that, just put in the chat like a fire emoji so that we know you are interested in saving more of your hard-earned money. That would be great. And so Nate brought me here today because he wants to make sure that you get this information so that we can help you keep more money, obviously. And I want to make sure that you're doing all the things that you possibly can do between now and the end of the year. And before we get into what I want to share with you in great detail is I'm going to have my friend and partner, Kate, come up and actually share a couple things in just a few minutes. But first, I want to show you who I am, like what details of who I am as a person. Why should you listen to me, essentially? I have a PhD. I'm also an EA, which is an enrolled agent. And what that means is the only credential that you can get with the IRS. So most people have a CPA, which is a state board, and EA is actually a credential through the IRS. So there's that. And then I have been a tax strategist for over 25 years now, and I am the founder of OTB Tax as well as Tax Rebels. So what we have built over the last 8 years since I've been doing this full time and not playing around with it anymore, because I did for quite some time. I hated taxes. I don't know about you guys, but I hate taxes. I hate paperwork. But I love helping people save money in taxes. So it became a good strategy for me to start helping people free up money. And that's when I fell in love with taxes. And so we've grown our business now to a $4.5 million practice. We have over 2,600 tax returns that we've done already this year. So pretty amazing. I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer, and an author. I've written 2 books. One is called More Relaxing, Less Taxing, and the other is called What's Your Plan B? And I've shared the stage with Eric Worre, with Tony Robbins, with Les Brown, as well as Grant Cardone. And I've invested over $500,000 of my own money, hard-earned money, after I got out of college to actually find the things that are going to save us money in taxes, whereas what I learned in college was just to prepare tax returns. It was not how to help people keep more of their hard-earned money. So that's my focus now, is how can I help you keep more of your money? And I'm going to actually ask my partner, Kate McShay, to come up and come out, Kate, really quick and just say hello.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Hey, ready for this.
And she's my business partner in our tax firm, OTB Tax, as well as Tax Rebels. Kate and her husband, Andrew, have built multiple 8-figure businesses, and I'm excited for her to break down what we're going to be covering with you today. Take it away, Kate.
All right, awesome. So what we're going to be covering today is we're number one, and Nate already shared this with you, and so this is absolutely great, is just make sure how many of you type notes in the webinar chat. I'm just looking at my chat over here. If you've got your way to be able to take notes, you're ready to learn, you're here, you're fired up, you're present, just drop notes in the chat if you are all set and ready to go. We love it. Oh, this is amazing. You guys have a great group, Nate. I'm loving this energy inside the chat. It's awesome. All right. So make sure that you stay present throughout this whole thing because like Nate said, at the end, we'll be doing some Q&A. But first things first, here's what Courtney's going to start breaking down for you and what we're going to do. She's going to be talking about why you'd be brain dead to not have and keep, okay, a home-based or a small business. You'll be able to learn how this one decision, this is like the best decision you're ever going to make, and how it can legally save you $4,000 to $8,000 this year, even if you're just starting out and you haven't even made a dime yet. And then what you're also going to learn is the tax code secrets that your traditional accountant has never told you. And so you're going to learn how to turn everyday expenses like your car, like travel, like meals, even your kids, into legal tax deductions that put thousands back into your pocket. And then what we're also going to go over is Courtney's going to share how the top 1% make their money multiply, okay? You'll get the same strategies so you can start making your money multiply, protect your freedom, and create lasting impact. And then what we're also going to do, because Courtney's going to share a lot with you, is that we're going to give you an inside look into our Tax Rebels membership, how it'll benefit you, and then how you can actually get help implementing everything that you're going to learn here if you want to dig deeper. And then like we said, Nate's going to come back on, I'll come back on, Courtney will be on, and we'll dive deep into Q&A. Now, the most important part here is what Courtney talked about is she talked about helping save her clients $25 million, right? And so this works for real people like Nate was talking about, real people who are in the home-based business and the small-based business niche, people like Chad, where Courtney was able to go back and amend 3 years of returns, and he used that money to be able to pay off his house, okay? And then people like Jacob, who really inside of 2020 had a really hard time and his business was hit really hard, and if he hadn't gotten back that extra 30,000, he wasn't 100% sure how he was going to be able to keep moving forward inside of his business. And then people like Jackie, where Jackie, just the way that things were set up were just not set up in a way where she was going to be able to keep more money in her pocket. And Courtney and the team came in and they were able to actually amend over 8 years and decrease her liability by $155,000. Now, I want you to think about that, all right? And think about Stephen Hawley. They were able to get back 6 figures. They saved $25,000 every single year. What would you do if you had an extra, gosh, 1,000, 10,000, 25,000, even the 6 figures back into your pocket? What would you do with it? I want you to drop it in the chat. Would you travel? Would you spend more time with your family? Would you invest it back into your business? Would you pay off debt? Drop it in the chat with what you would do, because these are real people. And like Nate said, same thing for him, right? Over $30,000 brought back to him that allows you to be able to then do the things that you want to do in your life. And ultimately, that's why we're all here, isn't it? Right? To create more time freedom, to be able to get more money back into our pocket. Yes, to pay off debt and travel. I love it. To be able to travel and pay off debt, buy a new property. This is absolutely awesome. So that's what Courtney's going to be breaking down for you. And what we want to know real quick before Courtney dives into the next steps here is I want you to look at this set of phases, all right? Because typically with the people that Courtney works with, you're either in one of these 3 phases, okay? So before we really start, we want to get a pulse here. So when you read through these, and I'm going to share them, I want you to drop in what phase you believe you're in, okay? So when it comes to running a home base or a small business, you're either in phase 1, and this might mean that you're just starting out, like you're just hopping into a home-based business. You know, Nate was talking about network marketing was where he got started. It was the same thing for my husband, Andrew, and I know for Courtney as well, too. So you might just be in phase 1 where you're just getting started. You're starting your home-based business or a small business, and you want to know how to actually continue to make it work for you. Courtney's going to break that down. Or you might be in phase 2. You actually might be making money in your business, but there's this thing in the back of your head where you're like, I just feel like I'm not actually keeping as much money as I know I could keep. And so if you're in phase 2, I want you to drop phase 2. And then if you're in phase 3 and you're like, hey, I'm crushing it, I'm making a lot of money, but I also know I need to start making my money work for me and I want to increase and grow my wealth, then just drop phase 3 in there. And by the way, if you're in phase 2 or you're in phase 3, make sure that you pay attention throughout this whole process, because chances are there might be things that Courtney shares, because she is a wizard in this with her knowledge, that in phase 1 or phase 2, you may not be doing just yet. All right. Just like Alex. When Alex came to Courtney, he was kind of technically in phase 3. He was making great money, but his business and the structure of what he was doing from a tax strategy perspective was not organized. And so Courtney got in there and made sure everything was structured effectively, and that he was also expensing the things that he could, that he didn't even know about. And Alex was able to save over $1 million in 1 year. Okay. So just know that if you're in phase 1, phase 2, and let me just take a quick look here, Courtney. All right, cool. We've got a lot inside of phase 1 and phase 2. Oh, this is great. You guys are going to get a ton of value from this. All right, so if you're ready, Courtney's going to start jumping in to phase 1 here now, which is all about why you'd be brain dead not to have and keep that home-based or small business. So you guys ready? Drop ready if you're all set and ready to go. All right, cool. Courtney, take it away. Let's hop in here. Cool? Let's do it.
Yes.
All right.
I'm ready. Okay. All right. So super exciting to share this stuff with you. I've been sharing this for the last 8 years, and how I came about was because I started doing tax returns for people that were actually in the network marketing industry. And I did over 900 tax returns for them and realized that I could save the average household $4,000 to $8,000 a year. So why is that important? I think first and foremost, we have to understand that 46% of all Americans don't have an extra $400 to their name. And 69% of Americans don't have an extra $1,000 to their name. And that's super important because we have to, typically we're selling something, right? All of us may be coaching, it may be consulting, whatever you are selling or offering, there typically has to be some money that you free up for people to allow them to get involved in whatever it is that you want them to do. And most people don't have that extra money. And the average American will spend more money in taxes in their lifetime than they will on food, clothing, housing, and transportation combined. Let me say that again. The average American will spend more money on taxes in their lifetime than they will on food, clothing, housing, and transportation combined. It is truly the number one expense that we have. And so we have to do everything that we can legally, morally, and ethically to keep more of our hard-earned money. And the average American family is actually going in debt right now, $7,000 to $12,000 per year. And I'll break that down for you in just a second, but I want you to understand is what we were taught, that to go to school, get good grades, go get a good job. It's not currently working, right? National debt in our country has gone up to $94,000 per citizen. That's up from $67,000 in 2020. Credit card debt, $7,400. Student loan debt is $39,000. So what we were taught is obviously not working. And so here's how that breakdown works, is that the average household in America is making $67,000 a year. They're paying about $14,000 in taxes. That leaves them with a take home of $53,000. But the problem is that in America, our cost of living is $65,000. So the average household is going in debt, $12,000 a year to work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year to take 2 weeks paid vacation. So how do we fix this problem? Decreasing taxes is truly the fastest way to create wealth and change your financial situation. And it first starts with having and being involved in the tax system that was created to provide wealth for you. See, there's a tax system in this country that was created to steal wealth away, and that is the W-2 employee tax system. And now, granted, I'm not knocking you if you're a W-2 employee. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. What I want you to understand is that the system is rigged against you. And the only way that you're going to fix that problem is to get out of the system and move into a business owner tax system. Now, you don't have to quit what you're currently doing. You just add on some sort of business. And I don't really care what that looks like. But if you understand that if you have, as a business owner, I am generating money back into the economy. I'm spending money every single day to generate back into the economy. And then I'm hiring employees. I'm going to pay far less in taxes from that. So you got to start a business. And then from there, once you start a business, you will always pay less in taxes as a business owner than you will as a W-2 employee. And I'll explain it this way. As a W-2 employee, let's take $100,000 that you're making. So if you're single, W-2 employee, you have $15,000 in standard deduction. These are the taxes roughly that you would pay. Here's the FICA, the federal, the state taxes. And you may say, well, I live in a state that doesn't offer sales tax or state taxes. Okay, great. But you're still going to pay property taxes. So they're going to get you either way. Now your take home from that 100,000 is 71,000. So you're paying 28,000 bucks roughly in taxes. Whereas as a business owner, you make the same $100,000 and you get business deductions. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to spend more money necessarily as a business owner. You have the same things. You have cell phone, you have internet, you have vehicles, you have a home, all of these things. And so now all of those things become tax deductible as business expenses. So let's just say there's $25,000 worth of business expenses. That leaves you with 75 grand. And then there's something that came in place in 2018 and got extended this year. It's called a QBI deduction. It allows you to not have to pay taxes as a business owner on 20% of your income from your business. So now you're down to 60,000. And then on top of that, you get to take the standard deduction. So you're paying far less in taxes. You see that take home, the difference of being a business owner or having a business, you can actually bring home an additional $14,400 for your family. So that's a huge deal. And why business owners, again, I talked about this a little bit, but business owners get massive tax breaks because 70% of all jobs in our country are created by small to medium-sized businesses. So if business owners paid the same amount in taxes as W-2 employees, there would not be any W-2 employees. So you've got to understand that. And why it's important to do tax strategy is because 40% of all of the salaried employees' income is actually going to pay taxes. So we've got to do something to fix that problem. And how I figured this out was not in college. I didn't go to college and government employees teach me how to save people money in taxes. I went to college to learn how to prepare taxes, but there was no strategy on that. What I had to do is spend over $500,000 over the lifetime of the last 8 years to learn the tax and the wealth strategies that I'm teaching you today. But on top of that, and I talked about this a little bit in the beginning, is that I did over 900 tax returns for people who were in the network marketing space. And I realized the fact is that I could save the average household $4,000 to $8,000 a year by adding a home-based business. Even if they were not making any money, just the sheer attempt allowed them to take advantage of tax deductions on things that they were already spending money on. So that leads me as well to the tax code secrets that your traditional accountant probably has never told you. Most accountants don't understand that. This is phase 2. So 93% of all business owners overpay in taxes. And the reason why is, one, is there is the lack of knowledge and strategy on your part. So, you know, you obviously didn't go to school to be an accountant. You didn't learn and read all the strategy that there is to be an accountant. And granted, I have spent over $500,000 on my strategies and the things that I teach. And so I just happen to give them to all of our clients. So the lack of knowledge is a huge deal. And strategy, most people wait till the end of the year, or actually even worse, they wait until next year and they try to take advantage of things that they don't have access to anymore. So you have to do that strategy right now in order to keep more money in your pocket for the 2025 tax season. The second is being scared of getting an audit. So most people think that if they take advantage of certain deductions, that they're more highly likely to be audited. That's just not the case. And this is what I'll tell you. If your income goes up drastically, meaning 5 or 10 times in 1 year, or if it goes down drastically 5 or 10 times, that's what triggers you to be audited. It's not taking advantage of travel and auto and business use of home. And I'll honestly tell you that we've only ever had 3 corporate returns audited in 25 years of me doing taxes, period. And then we've had about 15 personal tax returns done. We won all the corporate, we won about 75% of the personal. And that was just because the client didn't have their stuff together. Now, the third thing is accountant not allowing certain expenses or is giving bad advice. If you have to argue with your accountant to take advantage of certain tax deductions that you know, I spent this money to build my business, you need to find another accountant, period. And then accountants not providing tax strategy, only tax preparation. That is typical. And the reason why is because they've set us up. It's really tough to create a firm that's focused on strategy when there's so little time during the year to get tax returns done. So most firms just aren't focused on that. They're just focused on the preparation piece. And so we are truly focused on that strategy. And now 3 easy ways that you can, or 3 easy things that you can do right now to keep more money in your pocket between now and the end of the year is that make sure that you're tracking and writing off every single expense that has to do with your business, and that your structure is set up properly. And we'll talk a little bit about that, and that you're paying yourself the least amount in a paycheck. These 3 things I see hands down every single day, that people are overpaying between $20,000 and $100,000 a year in taxes because they're missing these things. And so first and foremost, let's talk about what a tax deduction actually is. So the IRS says that any expense that's incurred for the purpose of gaining or producing income that is incurred with a reasonable expectation of resulting in future business and is considered reasonable under the circumstances. So what does that mean? In layman's terms, it means if you're attempting to earn income today or in the future and it's reasonable, it's tax deductible. Now, I'm not telling you that a yacht is probably tax deductible today when you just started your new business. And I'm not necessarily telling you that a Bugatti or a Rolls Royce will be tax deductible for you if you just started a new business. But as you get bigger and bigger into your profession and make more and more money, those things clearly could be tax deductible. But what we are going to talk about today is how to redirect your living expenses and allow those to take deductions and turn those into business expenses. And the only thing that you have to do is something called daily business building activities. And what daily business building activities are, per the IRS, is that you're putting forward 3 to 5 days a week, 45 minutes a day, attempting to earn an income. And I think everybody on here is willing to do that to save $10,000 or more in their pocket on taxes. And the great part is that the government actually allows you to use your losses against any form of income, or you can carry that forward. And those losses can carry forward forever. So let's talk a little bit about what tax deductions you are entitled to actually take. And again, we're not talking about extra expenses. We're literally talking about converting your living expenses to business expenses so you don't have to spend more money to save more money in taxes. And I'll show you this breakdown. So I think this is I'm very visual. So I want you to understand, as a W-2 employee, and you can show all of those expenses, there are living expenses and there are itemized deductions. Well, living expenses, there's no deduction for that. Other than maybe some daycare, and you may potentially get some of that back. But when you're dealing with itemized deductions, 96% of Americans get zero benefit from itemized deductions. And the reason why is because if you go above you have to go above 7.5% of your adjusted gross income in order to get medical bills or medical insurance. So if you make $100,000, 7.5% of that, $7,500. If you had $10,000 worth of medical bills and medical insurance, you would only get to claim $2,500 towards an itemized deduction. If you're single, itemized deduction is $15,000. If you're married, itemized deduction is $30,000. So most people don't go over that. Now you have things like property taxes, real estate taxes, and granted, yes, with the big beautiful bill that just came out recently, that went from $10,000 capped to actually $40,000. So that is a big deal for those of you that have a high income tax bill, real estate property taxes bill, that has now increased to $40,000. So some of us may get the standard or the itemized deduction. Then you have mortgage interest. One of the things with mortgage interest is that you cannot claim interest on your house over and above $750,000 of your house. So if you have a $2 million house, you can only claim the interest on $750,000 of that. And then you have charitable contributions and they're capped. So how do we get these back? See, as a W-2 employee, you don't have the ability to take these typically as expenses, but you do get the standard deduction, which is $30,000. So as a business owner, when you add in a home-based business, you get to take the medical bills and medical insurance. You can actually even write off medical sharing. So how that works is you hire your spouse, you pay your spouse $100 a month, and then in turn, you offer them employee benefits. And that employee benefit is 100% of the medical bills, medical insurance, and medical sharing. Now it's a business tax deduction. And what I'm showing here are not expenses. They're not minimums or maximums. They're just kind of averages that I see. So you obviously have probably more expenses than this, But then you have things like property taxes. So property taxes could be for your house. A portion of your house could be written off. A portion of the property taxes on your vehicle. Maybe you have an RV that you travel around the country and go see clients and potential clients. So that can be written off as well. So that would be property taxes. Then you have business use of homes. So you can write off a portion of your house, whether that be utilities, repairs and maintenance. You could do insurance, interest on the house, property taxes, all of that could be, as well as depreciate a portion of the house as well. So that can be written off. So business use of home. Then charitable contributions. What I love about charitable contributions, one of my favorite deductions, is that if instead of giving from a net income level after expenses, you give from a gross income level, that actually becomes a business expense, 100% tax deductible as a cost of goods sold item. So we can talk more about that if you book a tax strategy session with us, but huge deduction. Now, let's talk about mileage and meals and cell phone and internet. So all of these things, it's not like you're spending more money, right? You're already driving. You're already using a cell phone. You're already using the internet. You're already going out to eat. It's just because you have a business, now these things become tax deductible as long as you're attempting to earn an income again. And then things that I really love are travel and hiring your kids. So, and they work hand in hand. So I get to travel all over the world. I have clients in all 50 states. I can pretty much go anywhere at any point in time, pick up the phone and call a client and say, hey, I'm coming to Hawaii. I want to meet with you. I can then book my trip to Hawaii. My kids work for me. They also own a portion of our company. That's a really good estate planning deal we could talk about later. But hiring your kids is a huge deduction for you. And you could travel with them as well, as long as they're helping you build your business. And then you have things like office supplies and legal and professional fees, like a new cell phone, new laptop, you need a new presentation. Like behind me, I have a new vibe board that I got, so I could write down and show people, strategy. And so all of these things, they're not extra expenses. They're things you're already spending money on. And then maybe you add in some extra expenses like advertising or continuing education. And honestly, continuing education completely changed my life. I spent $50 to go to a Tony Robbins event, zero income at that point in time. The next day, I got $7,500 a month in accounting clients. And that led to a year later when I showed up to his first event, making $35,000 a month. So I believe continuing education is one of the greatest things that you can spend your money in. And then you may have dues. So that dues could be a Zoom monthly subscription. It could be for whatever company that you're involved in, a product or service that you have to buy. And then you have things like cost of goods sold. So these are some extra expenses, but as you see, the total expenses right now is $35,900. So if we go to the next screen and you see that I'm not even making any extra money. You guys are not even making extra money. You're taking the same amount of money that you currently have. Let's say that's $60,000 a year, which is the average household. Business expenses, we're going to use $25,000. We're not even going to use the $35,000 number. At the end of the day, what's left over is a difference of $5,600 if you're single or $4,500 if you're married. Guys, that's a difference of $3.79 an hour per hour if you're single, and $3.05 an hour per hour. That would be like you getting a raise at your job, working 2,000 hours a year. That would be the equivalent of just saving the amount of money by having a home-based business. Now, what if you start actually making money? At the end of the day, you start making an extra $500 a month. What it looks like for you is now you've got from there, the extra $500 is a $10,000 difference. That's huge. And again, you've got to make $7 an hour in order to be equivalent to the take home of the extra $500 a month, now attempting to earn income. Now, let's talk a little bit more in detail on a couple of these different deductions. One is the standard mileage rate. So if you have a vehicle, you can either take the standard mileage rate or you can take actual expenses. Typically, if you have a newer vehicle, actual expenses are going to be better, but the standard mileage rate in this slide has not been updated. It is actually increased to 70 cents on the dollar. So if you have 15,000 miles for your business, you can write off 70 cents of that. So that would be a $10,500 deduction. Now, granted, you can't write off anything else other than there's no gas, or you can't claim gas, oil changes, repairs. There's no depreciation. You can claim like tolls and things like that, but you cannot claim anything else. But when you add actual expenses, you've got to first calculate what the business mileage is divided by the total mileage. And so let's say you had 8,000 miles business mileage, and then total miles was 10,000. That means you have 80%. So you can write off 80% of all of your expenses. And let's say that's 12,000 bucks. When you add up the gas, oil changes, repairs, supplies, interest, car washes, insurance, taxes, all of these things. Plus you actually get to depreciate the car. So let's say you have a car that's over 6,000 pounds, you can actually write off 100% of that in the first year that you buy it. You can say that's $100,000. 80% of that would be 80,000. You could take the tax deduction this year of not only the business usage and the deductions from that, but you also can depreciate the car and take an $80,000 tax deduction on the car. Now, if your vehicle's under 6,000 pounds, you get 20,000 the first year in a deduction, 20,000 the second year, and then it goes down from there. So huge deduction for vehicles, not necessarily saying that you need to go buy a vehicle this year, but if it's something that is something you want and you can force it to be a tax deduction as a business expense, that would be a huge savings for you. Now, shifting income by hiring your kids. I think this is probably, I mean, by far, I love continuing education. I love charitable contribution, but this saved me a ton of money in the beginning when I didn't have a lot of money. So I was able to shift income by hiring my kids. And so you can hire your kids as well. Kids are super expensive. They've got sports and dance and education and everything else known to man. And you can hire them and they pay for their stuff. So the first 15,000 is actually income tax free. And that savings is about 3,000 to 5,000 bucks per child for you each year. So depending on your tax bracket, we can help you with all the paperwork on this. And how it essentially works is that if the child is under the age of 18, there are no, and you pay them through a Schedule C. There's no unemployment, no state, no federal, no FICA taxes. You don't have to pay matching FICA taxes as well either. So really good way to shift income off of you and onto your kids. And then from there, whatever you want to do with that money, it has to go into a bank account with your kid's name on it. It can also have your name on it. You could set them up a Roth IRA. You could use that money for vacation, for education, whatever you want to use it for. So that's a huge deal. And then also you get to offer employee benefits to your kids as well. So the employee benefits are things like continuing education. You can take them with you to events, which is one of the things that I've loved throughout the years, is be able to take at least one of my children to an event, and I'll take them a couple days on the front end or a couple days on the back end, so we can actually hang out and have a good time. You can also, so their travel is tax deductible. You can reimburse them for their auto. You can also, after they do turn 18, you have the ability to give them up to $5,250 a year for college education. Then you have things like swimming pool, exercise facility, golf course, and tennis court. These are 100% tax deductible as business expenses. So you can actually, and this is part of the code. Like, that's one of the cool things, is there's stuff in the code that you would never even expect to be there. And this is one of my favorite. Now, things like travel expenses as well. I love to travel. Don't know about you guys, but travel is probably one of my favorite things. And so I will take my kids with me. I'll take my spouse with me, and we will typically go to an event. Again, a couple days on the front end, couple days on the back end, and we will have a vacation, right? So as long as you're spending 4 hours and 1 second a day on your business, you can actually, let's say you go on a Thursday, that's considered a travel day. So that can be written off. You don't have to do any work that day. The next day, Friday, you do 4 hours and 1 second. Sandwich in the weekend. Monday, you do 4 hours and 1 second. Tuesday, you can actually come home. That's another travel day. That allows you to be able to write off the entire 5 days, and you put in 8 hours and 2 seconds into your business. So that's another really good caveat to add in, as long as you're putting in half a day. And let's say you have an event that's a 10-12 hour day. Well, now you can actually stay for 2 days and you don't have to work. So just make sure you're adding that in when you're traveling, especially, coming up year end. So cost of getting to and from, the food, the lodging, the laundry, Ubers, flights, all of that good stuff is tax deductible. And one thing is that you don't have to keep receipts under $75. So this is just for travel specifically. So if you're traveling and you're going to a gas station or things like that, if you spend under $75, you don't have to keep track of those receipts. Now, another really good deduction is medical bills and insurance deduction. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but you have what's called an HRA, and I'm not talking about an HSA. That is a health savings account, totally different here. You have to have a high deductible health insurance policy in order to qualify for that and put money away. This is an HRA, which is a health reimbursement account. 96% of Americans, just like I said, get zero benefit from itemizing deductions. So they don't get any medical deductions. And again, it's limited to above 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. So what an HRA allows you to do is create an employee benefit by paying your spouse $100 a month. That now allows you to write off medical bills, medical insurance, and medical sharing plans. Medical sharing plans are typically not tax deductible, but if you add in this HRA and we can help you do that, all you have to do is hire your spouse, pay them $100 a month, get the HRA, not an HSA, and you write off all the medical expenses. And it's not like a savings account, whereas you have to put in money and then utilize that money later. It's literally connected to your debit card. And so it'll pull that money or your credit card whenever you have that service, right? So we can help you do that as well. Now, a little bit more detail. One of the things that I love too is called the Augusta loophole. The Augusta loophole says that you can rent your house out 14 days a year. You don't have to pay taxes on it. And so what does that look like? With me, I had an event here in August at my house. We literally rented out my house for $15,000 a day. Depending on the size of your house, if you have people over, whether that's for presentations, whether that is for training events, let's say masterminds, you have the ability to do typically between $500 and $15,000 a day. And so you can do that up to 14 days a year. You don't have to claim it as a tax deduction is all. There's no income. It's a tax deduction for your business, and you personally do not have to claim income on it. So that's a huge deal. And then continuing education. Again, I talked about this a little bit. Continuing education completely and utterly changed my life. I feel like you should put the time, effort, and energy into continuing education and find people who have gotten to where you want to go faster. And so allows you to condense time. It's also a huge tax deduction, and it's a great way to network and meet people. So, and then the other thing from there would be legal and professional fees. Like everything that I teach, we help you do. We help you set up all this stuff. And so tax preparation, setting up LLCs, S Corp elections, all of that stuff, you can actually hire people to do what they do best. The professional fees and legal and professional are tax deductible. Now, that's enough about expenses. So let's talk about business structure. One of the greatest things that you can possibly do with your business is have an LLC in place. And so we want to keep as much money as possible. I think that's the whole root of having a business is making money and being able to keep that. So you want to first register your LLC in the state that you're in, and that LLC limits your liability. But it also allows you to do something else that's even more beneficial, comparable for me, is that allows you to treat your business as an S Corp election for tax purposes when you need to. And this is one of the biggest tax deductions that you can possibly have. I've had people literally wipe out 75% of their income by using this tax deduction. And so let's say you made $60,000 a year, and 15.3% of that you would typically, as a business owner, pay self-employment taxes of 15.3. So now you're paying $9,100 in self-employment taxes. So if we have an LLC that's treated as an S corporation, which is just paperwork, it's literally paperwork, $250 is what we charge to do this paperwork, an S corp election with the IRS. And we say, hey, we're now going to take this LLC. When it's time, treat it as an S corporation for tax purposes. Anyone who's making more than $12,000 a year net income after expenses, you're going to want an S corp election. And if your accountant told you otherwise, you need to fire your accountant, because that's the break-even point. At that point, you're paying me less money than you're saving in taxes. So if I'm saving more money in taxes than I'm paying somebody to do this work, that makes sense. And the money that you pay us is a tax deduction as opposed to the money that you would pay the IRS in taxes is not a tax deduction. So what does that look like? You take the same $60,000 a year in income that you make from your business. 20% of that we would pay you in a paycheck. That would be $12,000. You only pay self-employment taxes on that 20%, which is $1,800. That is a $7,000 savings. So essentially, you have an S Corp election, and then we do an S Corp return each year and a personal tax return. So you go from having one return to two, and you have that one-time paperwork for the S Corp election. So huge deduction. If you're making more than $12,000 a year net income, you're going to want to have an S Corp election. Now, another reason you want to be a business owner is something called the QBI deduction. We talked a little bit about this, but I feel like it's helpful if I show you the breakdown. If I take the same $60,000 in income from business, you don't have to pay tax on 20% of that, which is $12,000. Let's say you have a 25% tax bracket. That's a $3,000 savings just by being a business owner. So that's why I say, guys, you would have to be brain dead not to own some sort of business. I don't care what that looks like. I just care that you have something on the side that one day maybe that turns into a full-time gig, maybe it doesn't. But for the tax benefits is so crucial for you to have this and understand. Now, going into phase 3, how the top 1% make their money multiply. See, as you make more money, you realize there are far more things that you can do to keep your hard-earned money, and you're literally taking money out of this hand and you're moving it over here. You're not giving it away in expenses, right? So the goal is, again, we want to keep as much money as possible. So if your income's under $300,000 a year, this is where I want you to start. I want you to get a solo, not a SEP, a solo 401k. That allows you to put $23,000 a year away into a traditional IRA. But what I want you to do, I don't want you to take advantage of the deduction for the traditional IRA, because it's far more advantageous to backdoor that into a Roth and immediately start putting that money into something that is now making you money, and you're not paying taxes on the gain, period. So that's a huge deal. That would be the first step that I would tell you. And then when your income gets over $300,000, there are things like charitable contributions that are a 5x multiple, meaning you put in 100 grand, it's a $500,000 tax deduction. The last client that I just got off the phone with earlier, she puts in 100 grand, it saves her $210,000 in taxes. Huge deduction. Then you have things like natural gas that you can invest in, oil and gas. So you're making a huge return on investment, typically 12 to 15% a year, and it's a 90% tax deduction. So I'm not talking about giving away your money. I'm literally talking about taking the money from here, putting it into passive investments that allow you to then make extra money. Real estate syndicates are one of my favorites. This year, I put in $550,000 so far into a real estate syndicate. That should pay me by year 8, $1.5 million in taxes, but it also saved me $130,000 in taxes this year. Literally moved it from this hand to this hand. Huge deduction. And then things like conservation easements, same concept as the 5X charitable contribution. It's just literally giving money into a program that buys land and gives it to the government. And we can help you with all of these things. We can connect you with the people that are specialized and know what they're doing when it comes to these different deductions, and help you focus on how you can keep more of your money. Now, I am at phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. This is for everyone. You don't want to leave any money on the table, right? We want to help you go back and amend tax returns. You can actually go back 3 years from the date of filing. So 22, 23, 24 are still available right now. We could go back and amend. Also, if you owe any money on any years, just like Jackie that we went to, we were able to save her. We went back and amended, decreased her tax liability by $155,000. So if you owe money, or if it's been in the last 2 years that you paid off the bill that you owe, then we can obviously go back and get you that money as well. So you definitely want to book a tax strategy session with us, and Kate's going to show you how to do that. Now, how many of you have gotten massive value so far? Perfect. All right, and what I want you to just put in the chat right now, what is your biggest takeaway so far? Drop your biggest takeaway in the comments. What do you want to make sure that you implement by the end of this year? Drop it in the comments now. Value, massive value, absolutely. Perfect. Definitely massive value. Refile taxes. Yes. So that's great. Awesome. All right. So next up, I'm going to bring Kate up and she's going to share with you, obviously, what we've learned so far and talk to you a little bit more about Tax Rebels, how we can help you save more of your money.
All right. So keep dropping in there. How many of you got some massive value today and realized how much Courtney understands, like, just in this world? And you can now see that it's like that is what she is very, very passionate about, right? Is making sure that you keep more money in your pocket. If you were in phase one, right? How many of you now understand, and just drop a me in the chat if you get that starting and keeping a home-based or small business is the fastest path to start saving money? How many of you saw, like, inside of the chart comparisons, saving over $14,000 a year just by making this one pivot and move? That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Okay, cool. Awesome. Me, dropping in the chat. And then how many of you can now see that if you are in phase two and you're starting to make money, you're already making some decent money, that you can legally, morally, and ethically deduct everyday life expenses through your business to keep more of your money? How many of you found a new deduction today that you didn't know about or you hadn't been doing just yet that Courtney shared with you? Drop a 5 inside of the chat if you found something new that you're like, hey, I want to make sure that I get that done. Awesome. And then how many of you, whether you're in phase 3 right now or not, how many of you actually want to grow your wealth? How many of you know that, like, creating a lasting impact legacy is something that you want? Drop wealth inside of the chat. Because whether you're in phase 3 or not, that's where we all want to go, right? We want more freedom. We want to be able to do the things that we want to do. I love that. So inside of phase 3, you learned that learning how to make your money multiply is ultimately what's going to give you true freedom, right? Is that we want to be in this kind of business and in this world and in this life to have the ability to be able to do what we want, when we want, with whoever we want. Yes, I love it, Nate. Nate's got his book. He's flashing his book and showing it right there. That is the thing, right? Earn it, keep it, and grow it. I love it, Derek. And so, real quick here, before we get into Q&A, I want you to answer this question in the chat. How many of you came here like serious, truly serious about keeping and growing more of your money in 2025 and beyond, right? So you can live a life filled with more freedom. How many of you are there? If you are, I want you to just drop bigger, okay? Inside of the chat. If that's something you are committed to, like bigger, better moving forward. Awesome. Stephen and Kim and Troy, Andrew, Kim, Brad, Sharon. Oh gosh, now they're just flying up. I can't even go through all of them. Okay, awesome. I love the comments here. So is it cool with you if Courtney and I and myself and our team, we share with you a little bit about what we can do to help support you and guarantee that 2026 is your best money keeping and money making year you've ever had? Is that cool? All right, drop a yes. Okay, awesome, Troy. You did it right before I even told you to do it. I love it. Dropping a yes in here if that's cool, because I want to share with you what we have to help support you and help implement everything that Courtney shared, okay? Because you might be asking, like, with everything that was shared in this little bit of time, and believe you me, Courtney has even more things that she can share with you. We just had a tiny amount of time here with you and with Nate. Is how do I implement all of this right now before the December deadlines, right? So I can make sure I can capitalize on some things for 2025, but I also know I'm getting myself set up, like Nate said, for 2026, okay? And so when it comes to thinking about how do I implement, you really always have 2 choices on what to do next. And I like to think about it like this, okay? How many of you have ever experienced being on a frozen lake before, or you've seen a frozen lake, or clearly you can see one right now, right? I want you to drop lake inside of the chat if this is something that you've experienced before, right? But I want you to think about it like this, all right? I want you to sit back for a second, and I want you to envision that you are on the edge of this lake, this one right here that you're seeing, okay? And you are tasked with walking all the way across that frozen lake. Like, you have no other option, but you've got to get across from one to the other, because everything that you want and have ever wanted to achieve in your life is over on that other side, right? And so all of a sudden you look, and then you look off to your right, and you see that there's a path that has footprints that are clearly getting you from one side to the other, right? Over on the right-hand side. But then when you look everywhere else, it's like all foggy. It's unclear of how to get there. So when you think about it and you have the choice, which path do you choose? Do you choose the one on the right with the footsteps that allow you to clearly know you can get from this side of the lake to the other? Or do you choose the side where you have to go it alone and you kind of have to guess where you step? Which one would you choose? Feel free to drop it in the chat. I love it. I love the emoji of the feet, right? The footprints. It's kind of a no-brainer in a way. However, oftentimes when it comes to things like this, when it comes to topics like tax strategy, right? When it comes to things like how do I make sure that I'm keeping the most money possible, a lot of us end up walking that lake alone, right? Or we talk to our accountant once or twice a year, and then throughout the rest of the year, we're walking it alone. And so one of the most important things you can do, and Nate talked about it in the beginning, the two big expenses are taxes, but also the ignorance of not knowing what to do to get to the next place that you want to go. And then ultimately with Courtney, she was talking about the speed of success, right? She invests in herself so that she can get places faster. And that's what we have for you here, right? Because Courtney has, like she shared at the beginning, she has personally grown OTB tax to a $4.5 million per year business. But what's even more impactful is that she is driven to help her clients, and she's helped her clients so far save over $25 million, right? People like Chad, who again took his amended returns and paid off his house. For Jacob, who again saved his business in 2020 because he got that money back. We talked about Jackie, who has decreased her tax liability by over $155,000, right? So this is what Courtney's done with her private clients. But when we were talking, one thing that was really, really clear to Courtney is that, hey, it's amazing to help clients, but what if I can help everybody? And what if I can get this information out to every home-based and small business owner, everybody that deserves this information, right? Because decreasing taxes, like we talked about, remember in the beginning, drop a 2 if you remember this. Decreasing taxes is the fastest way to start creating wealth and change your financial situation. And so if you have the ability to start thinking, like we talked about, that tax and wealth strategy should not be a once or twice a year conversation, but it should be a monthly focus for you inside of your business. Well, that's exactly why we created the Tax Rebels membership. Okay. And that is so that you have the ability to be able to take advantage of the tax and wealth strategies that Courtney knows, so it can help you implement everything that you need to do in order to put back at least $10,000 in your pocket and save up to 50% more of your income by the end of this year. And so here's what you're going to get when you become a Tax Rebel. Okay. So there are 3 different Tax Rebel memberships. I'm going to break them down for you so you can see what's included and which one might support you best. And so there's going to be a monthly, there's an annual, and then there is also the Tax Rebels Lifer. Okay. And hey, for some of you, you got invited by Nate, right? And for some of you, you may have already been talking with Nate and you're like, this is the solution. This is the answer. This is like, I'm already in. I know that I need this. I want the extra support and I want to be able to do it and have access to Courtney and the team consistently. And so if that's you, I want to share with you a way on how you can hop in right now. But I do want to remind you to just hang here so that you can see everything broken down, so you can see everything that you get. All right. So if you know you're in because you love Nate and you're all set and ready to go, okay, you've been talking to Nate for a little while, then go to taxrebels.com/join-today, or you can scan that QR code that's on the screen right now. And what you're going to do is you're going to select either the monthly membership level, the annual, or the lifer, depending on what you think is the best fit for you. Fill out your information on that order form and then stick around here to get the details, because I'm going to break everything down now so you can see it visually for yourself. Okay. So here's the deal. Inside of Tax Rebels, what Courtney has done and what we've done here is that she has created a curriculum vault. So all of the things that she talked about on this training are included inside of this vault on how to do it, right? And so you have the ability to go through one of the best courses, the Rebel Basics course, especially if you are inside of phase 1, where you're just starting your home-based or your small business, or you're just starting to make money. You can go through, how do you actually set this up effectively the first time? All right. So this is a step-by-step curriculum that takes you through how to set up and structure your business effectively and how to start doing those things like you were dropping in the chat. Like, how do I hire my kids? How do I expense my meals? How do I make sure that when I travel, I'm doing it effectively so I can make my everyday lifestyle things become part of my business, okay? Now, what's included inside of this vault in all of the different courses have already saved Courtney's clients $10,000 or more, but now you can actually follow the same playbook through this membership without having to be a tax client of OTB Tax, okay? You get this inside of Tax Rebels. And then what you're also going to get, because how many of you have gone through information and then you feel like you're left in the dark because you have to apply it yourself? Like, that's not really part of implementing. Drop a yes inside of the chat if you're like, I've invested in myself before, but I've gone through the information and then I'm more confused than ever. Drop a yes inside of the chat if that's happened to you. Okay, so here's the thing that's really, really cool is that you have the ability to have a weekly live Q&A call with Courtney and our Tax Rebels team. And what this means is that everything that you're learning or any question that you have, even some of these questions that are coming up inside of the webinar chat, you get to ask on the weekly Q&A. So you can always make sure, like we talked about, you are on top of things when it comes to tax strategy, and you are on top of things when it comes to wealth strategy for yourself. It becomes a once a week, it becomes a throughout the year thing you do to make sure you are maximizing your savings as much as possible. And then what you're also going to get outside of just Q&A access is like, hey, what if you have questions throughout the week? You're going to get access to the Rebel community. And this is where you get a chance to not only ask questions 24/7 and then our team will respond and answer them, or we'll say, hey, you know what, that's a really good one Courtney's going to dive into on the weekly Q&A. We'll make sure we get that answered. But you also have the ability to be able to connect and network with other people that are like you. Like, how many of you believe that there are just some people that don't get you? Like, they just don't do the things that you want to do in your life. Like, you've got ambition, you want to strive for more. I know I have felt that way before many, many times. Well, this is a community that allows you to be able to be around those like-minded people who are all ambitious and striving and trying to do the same thing. So you get access to that community. Here's a little sneak peek of it here. Like we shared, this is something that we are now opening up to the public, and we're sharing with people like Nate who have the ability to be able to share it out to all of you. And so you can ask your questions, you can introduce yourself. You can see Jade had some questions about meal deductions, and so those are getting answered inside of the live Q&As. So you get a ton of support while this is being implemented. Now, you're also going to get access to the Rebel Rolodex. This is where you'll also be included in this Rolodex as well, too. If you want to really make sure that you're connected with this community and you want to, maybe there's somebody who's local to you and you guys want to get coffee together and you want to catch up and you want to connect and you want to mastermind about business, you can get that inside of this Rebel Rolodex, all right? So you get all of Courtney's private access to her directory of people who are doing amazing things, plus you also get to get added in there as well too. So it's a great networking opportunity for you to continue to expand yourself. And then to kick this whole thing off, you're gonna have the ability to be able to hop on an onboarding call, okay? This is where you're getting a personalized call where our team helps map out your first steps along this journey and tailor any strategies to your goals. We'll hear more about what kind of business you have and design a plan so that you can start saving and multiplying your money faster. Now, a few extra bonuses that you get for being a part of a Tax Rebels member is you'll get an Ask Courtney AI bot. How many of you agree that Courtney has some pretty insane information that she has, like literally over 20 plus years of experience? Can you imagine a bot that has all of her different information that's included in there, and you can go in and ask it a question and it spits out an instant answer for you when it's like, hey, I've got a question, I need this answer ASAP. You get to go ask the Courtney AI bot, right? Super cool. And then also you're going to get access to the Rebel Mentors Content Vault. This is a highly vetted group of trainers who are specialists in some of the things they do best, like scaling businesses or building wealth. Like Courtney was talking about, some of the phase 3 investing things that you can do. There's specific things that you want to do and you want to make sure that you're following someone who understands exactly how things work. That's what you get inside of the Rebel Mentors Content Vault, okay? So it can help inspire you, but also accelerate your journey. And then one of the things that I absolutely love is that inside of 2026, there is going to be the first Rebel event. It's the Revolution event, and you get a free ticket to the annual live event. You get a chance to celebrate with everybody, network with people, learn new strategies, and build new relationships. So that is everything that is included inside of the Tax Rebels monthly membership. Okay, so you get everything we just talked about, and that is for a monthly membership for just $49.99 a month. You'll get all that information and all that support, okay, as a monthly member. But that's not your only way to become a tax rebel, like I shared. You can also, if you're one of those people who's like, hey, I like to save a little bit, we've got an annual membership that gives you 2 months free. You get to save $100, and you get to invest as an annual member for just $499 for the entire year, okay? It includes everything that we already talked about, but also these special bonuses to help you move further faster, okay? So our first annual bonus is the deduction maximizer templates. These are templates that are created by our team, which is literally everything that you could ever think of. Fill in the blank templates that help you cover every deduction for a home-based, corporate, small-based property expenses. You'll never miss another deduction again. You have the ability to be able to just literally add in your stuff like Courtney was talking about earlier, where she was comparing the different deductions. You can just add in your numbers and it'll spit out what you need to do. The next thing that you get, how many of you want to hire your kids? Like it's something that you really want to make sure that you start doing. Like you love the idea of the fact that your kids actually get to be a part of your business. Drop kids inside of the chat. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And so you'll get a Hire My Kids cheat sheet. Awesome, Stephen. Great, Kim. And this is step-by-step instructions on how this works, okay? It's going to kind of give you this quick start cheat sheet on how it works so that you can shift that income legally, lower your tax bracket, and keep wealth inside of the family. Plus, you're also going to get Courtney's Keep More, Earn More book bundle. These are her digital access to her books, her 2 books, More Relaxing, Less Taxing, and What's Your Plan B. These books are going to be a great combo for you as you're getting started that will help you think like a rebel and kind of get you started along the journey while you're hopping into the curriculum and starting to take action. Plus, you'll get 2 free extra tickets to our annual live event inside of 2026 when you get a chance to celebrate, so you could bring your spouse. I got started in our entrepreneurial journey because my husband Andrew brought me to Vegas. I was a 2nd grade teacher, had no idea and no concept of how all of this worked, went to that event, and I became a lifer for life. And we've built incredibly successful businesses because we invested in ourselves that way, but it all came because he invited me to an event. So we wanted to do the same thing for you. As you can invite a spouse, you can invite a business partner and come join our event in 2026. And then the one other thing you're going to get, Courtney talked about this a couple of times, is that you may have some things that are very, very specific to you, like that just take an extra call instead of a Q&A or instead of a post inside the community. You're going to get 50% off a strategy session, okay, with Courtney or the team, where you're literally going to walk through the things that you need to do to make sure that you are maximizing your strategy as best as possible. These are typically $100, but it's 50% off for you because this is time that the team's coming in to strategize with you. And so you'll get that discount as an annual member, all right? So that's everything that you get for annual. And again, it is $499 a year. You get those 2 months free and you get to save $100. But if you are like, and it's cool because we kind of pulled these numbers earlier today, if you are like 81% of the people that have already joined the Tax Rebels family, then Courtney's favorite membership, the Lifer membership, is for you. So here's what happened, okay? When Courtney launched this, she talked about launching, doing an event at her house. This is when she launched Tax Rebels. She opened it up to her clients and also to her database because she wanted to create that membership option that allowed you to be able to get those tax and wealth strategies long term. Like if you are one of those people who is like, I never want to overpay the IRS again. I always want to make sure that I know money in my pocket is going to be money that I'm allowed to do some amazing, incredible things with, and I want to make sure I am always on top of that. Then that's why she created Rebel Lifer, okay? And that's why 81% of people who have enrolled in Tax Rebels have become a lifer, and here's why. It's because when you become a lifer, you are locked in for good. There are no renewals, there are no rate hikes, no changes. no going backwards. You're always going to have the tools, the strategy, and the community to live as tax rebel for life. So it's everything that's been included, including the annual bonuses as well, from monthly and annual. But as a lifer, you get some extra bonuses too. So one of the things that Courtney's talked about, and also Nate talked about as well too, is wrapping up 2025, making sure you've maximized as much as possible, but positioning yourself in 2026 to benefit the most. And so what we're going to be doing is a 2025 wrap up year-end virtual workshop where you literally are going to be with Courtney and our team, and we're going to be doing a hands-on workshop, making sure you are actually implementing everything you need to do in order to maximize 2025 and set yourself up for a powerful 2026. So that is happening here very, very shortly, within the next month. And people have paid $5,000 for events like this, but you get it free as a lifer when you come in. So, I mean, that's the way that you can really get in and get kickstarted. And then for some of you, I know you have a team. And so if you've got a team for lifer, you get to get 5 bring your team, that's what we call them, tickets, right? Because you want to bring people with you so that they can experience the same things and they can win as well too in their business. And so you'll get 5 bring your team tickets to our annual event inside of 2026. And then you'll also get our limited edition Tax Rebels Lifer swag bag. So this is specifically created only for lifers. Once it's gone, it's gone. So it's one of those cool things that you get as we are doing this ultimately founding members launch that you have an opportunity here to be a part of. And so inside of Lifer, you get all of those things included. And one thing I want to share with you about just the pricing of Lifer in itself is that this is now our public launch. Courtney has shared it with her clients, she's shared it with her database, and now she's opening it up to the public. But as you will see, eventually over this next month, Lifer is going to go up to $2,000, and there's 1,000 Lifer memberships available at that price point, okay? But because you are here and for this launch only, and because you know Nate, you actually get a chance to save $401 and get the Lifer membership right now for only $1,599 lifetime with Courtney and Tax Rebels. Now, just as a heads up, the next price hike is going to be on November 3rd. So that's Monday, that's a week from now. That's when the Lifer price is going up again. So if you're ready to keep more of your money and get support and become part of the Tax Rebels family, here's what you have to do now. Go to taxrebels.com/join-today. Select the membership level that fits you best, monthly, annual, or lifer, and then fill out the information on the order form. And then we'll be super excited to welcome you into Rebel Nation. You'll actually get a video on the next steps of what to do after you sign up. So when you go to that page, when you go to taxrebels.com/join-today, this is what you're going to see. You'll see everything broken down as I shared with you. And then you'll have the choice to pick the membership that works for you. If it's monthly, you go click to join monthly. If it's annual, you go click to join annual. And then if it's lifer, you go click to join lifer, and then start filling out your information on that order form, okay? Now we do have debit card options. We have credit card options. We also have options like Klarna to enroll as well too when you head on over there. And the one other thing Courtney and I wanted to make sure that we shared with you was that obviously with Courtney, she does everything possible to make sure it is a tax deduction for you, which means that your Tax Rebels membership is a tax deduction because it is considered as investing in yourself and continued education, which it is, right? You are learning how to better yourself and better your business. This is a 100% write-off. Courtney calls it write-offable, right? How do you make things in your life write-offable? Well, this membership is that for you. And you have the ability to be able to do that when you become a member. You can make this a tax deduction. Courtney walks you through exactly how to do it inside of the curriculum. So ultimately, it is not a risk for you because it is something that becomes a deduction for you to be able to continue to keep more money and grow your money. And like Courtney talked about, the cool thing is when she talked about charitable donations, there's actually also something you can do where you can create a part of your business to be a charitable donation. And so Courtney and we all have done that actually for you, okay? As a Tax Rebel, we don't just help you keep more and grow more, we also actually help you give more as a part of your membership. So we are partnered with a company called Mana Relief. And for every dollar that comes into Tax Rebels, we are actually helping eliminate child malnutrition by providing daily nutrition for a child through our partnership with Manna Relief. So while you're learning how to implement all of this, you are also helping impact a child in need. And the part that I think is absolutely amazing is that through OTB Tax, Courtney's tax firm, right, and our Tax Rebels, we have provided over, right, and counting, 10,090,512 servings of nutrition for children in need. And so that is something that you would be contributing to with your membership as well, which we think is really, really powerful. One of Courtney's things is to be able to help you learn what to do to help yourself and your business, but she also wants to eliminate child malnutrition. And so that is a part of what she's done with this business as well. And as a reminder, you get a chance to learn from someone who knows her stuff. And so Courtney has produced $4.5 million a year inside of her tax firm and helped her clients save over $25 million. And now it's time to help more people in the home-based business and the small business world outside of her private clients. And you get a chance to get the insider knowledge for tax and wealth strategies so you can keep and grow more of your money. And you have the ability to be able to do that inside of this membership. So if you want to become a part of the Tax Rebels family, then you can go to taxrebels.com/join today and become a part of the Tax Rebels family now. Because I want you to imagine this. I want you to really think about this. Is that think about it being tax season next year, right? And instead of stress or overwhelm or scrambling, you actually feel calm this year. And it's because you already made the right moves right now with Courtney and our team, and you know your tax bill is cut in half. Or you just started your home-based business and now you know you are getting back at least $4,000 to $8,000 just for starting your business. Or you think about that extra $10,000 you have, the $25,000, even $100,000 that you used to overpay, it's now yours. And you get to use it to do what you want, which might be you're paying off debt, or you are taking that family on that dream vacation, or you're finally starting to invest in more freedom and a legacy that you want to make sure that you leave. That is what is possible when you have the ability to get the support you need, and we can do that with you through Tax Rebels today. So again, you can go to taxrebels.com/join-today, select the membership level that is a fit for you, fill out your info on the order form, and we're going to be really, really excited to welcome you into Rebel Nation. So with that being said, it is Q&A time. All right, so let's see. I got Nate here. Courtney is here. If you two want to unmute, let's pop in here and let's answer some questions. So, all right, how you two doing?
Doing great,
Awesome.
doing great. And while they're getting ready for their questions, because guys, if you've been on with me, you know I'm always going to ask you what'd you get of value. So I want to make sure that you at least tell us what you've got, but we've got to get your questions answered because I don't want you to go back thinking about what you just now heard. It's so important for me that you walk away with the understanding that this is about you being the asset. There's no greater investment than you can make than in yourself. That's what's going to provide the infinite return. As an executive and business coach, what I've learned is that many times people are just ignorant to the resources available. Today, I guarantee that some of you have never even heard of Courtney before. Some of you have never even heard tax strategists before. Some of you have not heard the things that were shared before. And so one of the first reasons that people wouldn't get engaged with me is because they just know that there are resources that they've never been exposed to. The next thing might be you may know of something, but then you may not think you have the ability to afford it. Well, the great thing about this is the reason why I brought this forward is that I've been a client of Courtney since December 2020. And so I'm bringing this information forward because I saw a way to actually make it accessible to everyone to be able to get the value. And it ties directly into chapter 9 of my book, which is reducing taxes. So many of you have my book already. And that's why you got the personal invite. This is a private invitation only session you have right here. And then from there, it's a question of now, once you get the information, if you do know that it's out there, do you have the time to actually get up to speed? Well, that's another heavy lift. If you don't have the ability to actually then carve out the time to learn all this, are you going to go and try to grab 25 years of experience? of bumps and bruises. Come on now. And then from there, if you do have the time, do you comprehend it? Because see, you can go through the information. I know many of us have been through a school environment, or maybe you invested in coaching or some type of program, but you still didn't actually understand how to apply the information. Well, how about that AI bot? How about being able to have her in your hand and being able to just put in some information and get that same brain? I have a Life is Rich bot as well. So it's those type of tools that we're bringing forth to say, you know what, we can make this accessible to everyone. And the reason this is so important for me is because my desire is to create the equivalent of a $10 million endowment fund to foster personal growth and development and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship must be the foundation of any wealth building plan. The two biggest expenses we pay, we already know, ignorance and taxes. Well, there's only two ways to increase cash flow. Either increase your income or decrease your expenses. Well, with 77 million baby boomers retiring and facing a cash flow danger, and 66 out of 100 people age 65 earning less than $30,000 of retirement, family, this is an opportunity right now for you to get the inside scoop, no longer be ignorant, and now actually get proactive about your own success. And so I'm so excited that you guys plugged in, and now you're going to have the opportunity to ask some specific questions because you may have some things that come to mind. But let's see what you have out here. Who's first? I wish I could see the gallery because I can then start calling on some people.
No, should as a co-host.
That's Stephen, Kim, Pearl.
All right. Troy, are you still here?
On. Oh, Troy's here. He says it's priceless.
Okay, Dr. Diana, any one of you, if you don't have a question, let us know what value. Give us some things about what value did you get as a result of being in the room.
I'm going back. Tamiko Kirk raised their hand as well too.
Go ahead. Can you unmute her, Tamiko?
Yeah. Yep. Give me 1 second. There we go.
I hear some questions coming in now.
All right. Let's stop the screen share if we can do that.
Yeah. Give me 1 sec.
All right.
All right. We got Tamiko, Troy, and then Sharon. Give me 1 second. Let me unmute Tamiko, and then we'll do Troy, and then we'll do Sharon.
All right. And I see some questions in the chat. We can also grab those as well.
Yeah. Perfect. We'll see if that works. If not, we can just grab them right in the chat.
All right. Well, while we're doing that, Courtney, how about answer the question, can we have someone do our taxes for us? I have a CPA who does mine.
Yeah, so you definitely can. You do not have to be an OTB tax client, but the problem we typically run into is that you're not going to get your CPA to allow you to take advantage of a lot of the deductions that we talk about, not because they're not legit. We follow section 162A very much by the letter, but a lot of accountants just don't feel like there's certain expenses that you can take advantage of. So yes, you sure can get the information. You can go share it with your accountant. And if your accountant says, no, we won't allow you to take that, then I'd suggest you probably book a tax strategy session with us and become our client.
And I'll echo with saying that the thing I said, the reason I tell you guys to bring your professional is that one of the problems is people don't oftentimes have people vetted. I want you to think about how did you get in the relationship with whomever it is that you're working with, and understand that we don't know all things. So the way that it would be good for you is that at least you're someone that's not doing your own taxes. So therefore, get another set of eyes, get that tax strategy, so that in turn, you can then go back and have a conversation armed. That's the reason I wrote my book. I wrote it for you to be armed to ask the right questions. This is just an extra step I'm taking to bring you someone that I've already vetted, work with, and in turn say, I trust her because I have enough knowledge to know whether or not she's off or not. I just know that she's further ahead than me. But the great thing about my military time is that I know how to spot check. And that's what makes us a dynamic team, is that this is something. So have your relationship, but don't have your relationship make you broke. Right. Increase your values. You're the CEO of your own life. So now that's my recommendation, is that, yeah, they can do it, but don't allow that to stop you from being informed and then looking at it as if they're responsible for your well-being.
Right. Yes, that's true. And then, yeah, you got her up, Kate, or you want me to?
Yeah,
answer?
it's not working for Tamiko. So let's
Okay.
have everybody just drop your questions inside of the chat, because I think that it seems like for some reason it's permitting people to actually unmute and talk.
Okay, so so can a sole proprietor also elect S Corp status?
It
No.
worked. I
Oh,
didn't
there
mean
she
to
is.
hit the button.
Oh, you got it. All right. Hey, Tamiko.
Yeah. Hi. For Courtney, I was just wanting to know, I've been looking for someone to invest, so like to teach on the tax part. So with this, if you become a partner or become a rebel, do you also teach us more on how to do the write-offs or what's best, like personally for me in my business or in my state?
Yes. So, and if you need to go more in depth on you specifically, you just book a tax strategy session with us at any point in time. So once you get inside the Tax Rebels community, there's a link over to the right to book a tax strategy session with us. So, you know, OTB Tax and Tax Rebels are two totally different companies. One is focused on the education, but as soon as you book a tax strategy session with us, we can go into more detail on you, or you can ask those questions in the Q&A. So if you feel comfortable to, you know, post the questions inside the community, and then we answer those every Thursday. Anything that I need to answer as far as strategy goes, and then we will also connect you to any, you know, companies that if you're interested in investing and things like that, we'll make sure you get connected to them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So Damon wanted to know, can a sole proprietorship also elect S Corp status? They cannot. You have to be an LLC first. So if you guys had an LLC and you go, we actually have the ability to go backwards 3 years and 75 days from today and treat that LLC as an S Corp election. If you don't have an LLC currently yet, then you would want to get an LLC in place. That's probably one of the first things I would ever say that you should do when you start a business is to have an LLC. Even if you don't need it for liability purposes, it's very important for the tax purposes. So there's that. And then Steve wants to know, can I still set up an LLC for 25 if I'm currently set up as a sole proprietorship? Yeah, you can. It's just that we cannot treat the LLC as an S Corp until we have the LLC in place. So you could do, you know, November, December, depending on your income, we could advise you on which one. I'd get the LLC regardless in place. And then depending on how much income that you're making per month, because we can't start it until the day you get the LLC in place, then we would decide whether to do it this year or next year to do the S Corp election.
Hey, Courtney, real quick with that.
Yep.
What's that dollar amount that we use?
Well, so 12,000, if you're making more than $12,000, but you know, for those 2 months after expenses, then it would definitely be beneficial to have the S Corp election. Obviously, the more money you make, the more beneficial the S Corp is. I actually saved someone $150,000 in taxes by doing an LLC trade as an S Corp in 1 year. So huge, huge deal. All right, and then
real quick, because I know this question's come up a couple of times, like, do I have to be a member to get my taxes done? Can you share two things? Why people who are your private clients are also Tax Rebels members for getting more access to, yeah, like Nate's raising his hand because he has become a Tax Rebel member. And also, I think similar question to Tamiko, you don't have to become an OTB tax client. You can, you know, continue to get the support through Tax Rebels. So can you just kind of break that down a little bit for everybody so they get how this works?
Yeah. So, I mean, I just got on a live last week. I was watching another guy that teaches tax strategy, same information I teach. And his whole entire pitch was $50,000. It's literally the same things that I teach in Tax Rebels and becoming a client was 50 grand. And, you know, what I want to do is I don't want to raise my prices. But I want to help millions of people. And so what's happening is that I am running out of time. Obviously, we are scaling, we are growing the business, we are taking on more employees. We're hopefully, you know, bringing in more sales reps that actually can teach the tax strategy piece. And then that lead into me being the face of Tax Rebels and OTB Tax, just teaching the information. So I don't want to run out of time and not help as many people as possible. So that's why we created Tax Rebels. It's like you go over here, you get the education, and you get that on a weekly basis. There's no way I can spend 3 or 4 hours with you teaching you all the things that you should do between now and the end of the year to get the information so that you can save as much money in taxes. And some of the things that I teach may not be relevant to you right now. So that's why there's a roadmap over in Tax Rebels to teach you, okay, these are the things that you need to do between now and the end of the year. Book a tax strategy session with us. If you want to become a client, that's amazing. We'll take you. But at the end of the day, I can't spend the time that I'm spending right now on thousands and thousands of people. And that's what I want to be able to do. And the only way that I can fix that is either raise my rates or go to a one-to-many so that I can teach all the people. So that's why we created Tax Rebels. That's why it's important to be a tax rebel as well as a tax client.
And I'll add, because again, I'm that. You guys are here because I'm a client.
Yep.
You're here because I'm already in the information space. Everyone is not my client. That's the thing.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff you guys experience with me, for example, in the networking space, especially because most of you are involved in the same company I'm with, you guys hear things from me that oftentimes I don't make available to the public. But because you're in the community that I'm a part of, there are different times in which I'm teaching things. But this right here has nothing to do with the companies that you're involved in. This is about you maybe having a relationship with Nate Scott. And I'm saying, let me bring you into things that you may have already been exposed to because you've had my book or that you've heard something from me before. The education is what I'm saying to you that's most critical. That's what is the 100% tax deductible. That's the part when I say investing in a relationship, investing in yourself through a relationship. Be it the relationship with me, be it the relationship with Courtney, other professionals. Far too many people are trying to do everything for themselves. And in turn, what happens is you're missing out because you just don't know. So this is about being proactive. So my thing is, this here is about the education. You should always invest in yourself. Whether or not you have the service, which is where I started, is dependent on where your situation is. But the education is for you and your generations and everyone that's connected to you.
Yeah,
Yes.
great question. I just want to address Troy's real quick because I think it's going to address a couple other people's. And then Courtney, there are some very specific ones as well. So Troy said, so the next step after enrollment in Tax Rebels would be a strategy session and then steps in the roadmap. It's actually not. So I just want to clear that up for everybody. So after you enroll as a Tax Rebel member, you're actually going to start getting access to the curriculum that's going to start walking you through educating how to do all of these things, what to do, what are the next steps that you have to take with all of the things that Courtney talked about today. So that's the educational side. If you ever go, hey, I don't want to go find someone else to do my taxes, I would like Courtney's team to do my taxes, then you can book a strategy session to see what that might look like for you, right? Or you're like, hey, I have a very, very specific thing I'm not comfortable sharing inside of Q&As. I want to book a tax strategy session and just walk through what's done. That's what that strategy session is for. So you do not have to have a strategy session after enrollment. All of the curriculum is accessible to you, and you get on that onboarding call that's going to walk you through the next steps, what videos to watch, what education to go through so that you can achieve what you want to achieve. And so the membership is about you being able to get the education without having to become a tax strategy client through OTB Tax. So hopefully that makes sense for everybody.
And Kate, also what I'd say is for everyone, the value of the tax strategy is also, I want you to begin with the end in mind. What is your goal?
Yes.
The tax strategy is about assessment.
Yes.
And then as an assessment is then where we make a plan. And then from the plan, we hold you accountable to the execution of the plan. And when I say we, I'm saying that you still have, this is still me here. I'm bringing this forward, but the strategy is about the assessment. You get the benefit of being able to get the assessment so that your specific situation is reviewed, so that in turn you're clear about where you're at. And that's what's going to cause you to determine what shifts you need to make, or if there's a shift to make. But if you don't get that, then you're still operating blind.
Yeah, 100%. Great clarification. Okay, cool. So that cleared things up for quite a few people. That's great. Courtney, let's see. There were a bunch that flew up here. Let's look here real quick.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Kate, Jen Chambly, that one is a kind of a spinoff of what you just shared.
Oh, yes. Oh, so if you do lifetime, thank you. If we pay for lifetime, do we have to pay for taxes to be done by you each year? No, you do not. Lifetime is just your lifetime access to the curriculum, to the courses, to the community. You could take all that information and go with a completely different accountant. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
And that's just your lifetime access. So you do not have to renew after a year. You do not have to pay every single month. You are paying for a lifetime as a tax rebel member. And what's cool about that is that like Courtney just did a big, huge Q&A on the big, beautiful bill. So the other part that's really awesome about this community is it's the up-to-date education. You're not just getting into a community that's like, here's a couple courses, but they're 5 years old. These are the new things that are happening. This is how you can keep the most of your money. This is how you can grow your wealth as well too. So no, you do not have to get taxes done. It's not included in the lifer. The lifer is included in your lifetime education and all of the updates that'll be included inside of Tax Rebels.
And the big thing is just so you guys know, like these events that we're doing, it's not to necessarily lead you into anything else. It's literally so that we can hang out, have fun, create a networking experience so that we all have, because I think one of the things that's missing in the event world is that there's time to be able to connect with people and to bounce ideas off of each other and be able to, you know, bring your kids along with you. And so we can create these relationships. That's my goal in Tax Rebels, is for us to have a good time, you know, connecting with each other virtually, but then lead to a live event so that we can be able to write off our vacations and that turn into an actual business expense, because it's no longer a vacation when you wrap continuing education around it. So that's one of the cool parts. And I mean, one of the biggest reasons why I want us to all, you know, be a part and be a lifer, like that just makes more sense.
Yeah. And Courtney, with what you just said, it's really interesting, because what I say is that I want to be healthy. I want to make friends. I want to make money.
Yep.
I want to travel, and I want to grow, in this case with you.
Yes.
And that's really the invitation. The fact of the matter is, many times you guys are, again, a part of opportunities and companies like that, but you're not getting grown. Like I said,
Yeah.
one of the biggest problems in the space, which is why I wrote my book, is that it's a space that talks about money, but doesn't teach finances. And this
Correct.
is a key part of the finances. And it talks about business, but doesn't teach entrepreneurship. And
Correct.
so what happens is it's all about the company that you're part of, but you're the asset. This is about you. This is about caring about you and your generations and your family. And that's the type of environment, which is why this is such a good fit for my family, and why I wanted to at least expose you to the opportunity to connect. Damon King asks the question, do you also work with business owners who are looking to exit their businesses, pre-sale tax planning?
We do. Yeah. I mean, it's not something I do very often. Obviously, most people are not looking to sell. We don't have a lot of baby boomers, which, I mean, I know a ton of them are, you know, selling their business, but yes, we can definitely help with tax planning, and I can connect you to companies that do mergers and acquisition, that also handle the pricing of what your company would be worth. So, yeah.
All right. Dr. Shelley Hamlin says, becoming a member includes you preparing for tax returns. If not, what's the cost of you doing our taxes so we can make sure that we get all the deductions possible?
So it depends on what type of client you are. So if you're a personal tax return with a business, then it's $745. And then if you're a corporate and a personal, it's $2,100 for us to do a corporate return and a personal tax return.
All right. Someone says, Sharon asks, Roth IRA was told too old, reached my limit for the Roth investment. How much should you be earning before setting up an LLC?
So an LLC, you should have an LLC the minute you become a business owner. There shouldn't be a limit on that. But if you are in the network marketing space or affiliate marketing, then I would say once you get to a point where you're making $1,000 a month gross income, you definitely want to have that LLC, because there's not as much liability there. But then you want to have the ability later on to treat that LLC as an S corp election for tax purposes.
Now, you guys heard that, $1,000. And so for some of you right now, you're engaged in an opportunity. And so one of the things I said for you is that this is a great opportunity these last few days for you to now bring this information forward so that we can actually now put people in a position to make that guaranteed $1,000 this month with just referring 8 people. So imagine $100 per month commitment gives a person an opportunity to get $4,000 to $8,000 year after year after year, and so much more. We're really understating what that really is. And so understand that this is about more logic. Most of the time people are operating from emotions based, but I'm talking to you about why everyone must have a business, and then showing you also what's the benchmark for what makes something deductible. In fact, Courtney, if you would speak to that, talk about the things that make that the kind of the metric and how you evaluate if something's deductible. But as a reminder to everyone, there are 3 things. You have to have an intent to earn a profit, do something on a consistent and ongoing basis, and then document, track your income and expenses. But Courtney, talk about the things like health and wellness, for example, or skincare, or what's some examples of things that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, when you're talking about tax deductions, it truly is every single thing that you could possibly think of. If you just ask yourself, am I using this to attempt to earn income? If that answer is yes, then all you have to do is figure out what category it goes into. Now, granted, if you were to get audited, sometimes there are auditors that would fight you on that. That's why we include audit protection in all of our tax returns. That's why we fight and understand the network marketing industry, the home-based business industry. If you have an accountant who fights you on deductions, they're not going to help you when it comes to an audit. Again, it's truly about putting in the effort. So if you are putting in 3 to 5 days a week for 45 minutes a day, attempting to earn income, that solidifies you as a business owner. And then now looking at the expense, it's like, am I using this skincare to attempt to earn income? Yes. Am I using this product to share a story with someone so that I can attempt to earn an income? Yes. Am I going to this event so that I can talk to people so that I can attempt to earn an income? Yes. It's about the intention that you are intending to earn income and you're attempting to earn income. And the more you do that, see, here's the thing. The funny thing is that if you suck at sales, if you just do this based upon the guarantee of tax savings, I go out to eat because I want to attempt to earn income. And I tell people about what I'm doing. I go to an event saying I'm going to attempt to earn income. I'm just telling people what I'm doing. I'm not even trying to sell them on anything. I don't care if they buy anything from me, because now I guarantee myself tax savings. So that's the guarantee. And when you understand that, it's like, man, it's a no-brainer for anything that I'm offering to sell to someone. I'm just offering a product at wholesale versus retail. I'm offering them the ability to save money in taxes like I am. And then on top of that, they have the ability to share and make money off of it. Like, I'm the smartest person in the room right now. Don't care if you get it or not. Your lack of ignorance is not going to change the fact that this was the smartest decision that I could have ever made for me and my family.
Courtney, EA, I forgot. We probably didn't highlight that. EA versus CPA. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so an EA is an enrolled agent. So what most people think is that they want a CPA. And actually, I never even knew what an EA was until I got into my 5th year of college. And so a CPA, they have a state board. So each state has a completely different test that they take. And so when you become a CPA, you're a CPA for that state. An EA is an enrolled agent, and it's a credential that you get through the IRS. I can actually go to tax court with you, whereas a CPA cannot. So you either need a tax attorney or an EA that can go to tax court, whereas a CPA, their focus is financials, and EA is focused on tax, so consistently focused on tax, where the financials, yes, I mean, can you find some CPAs that have good knowledge? Yes, but it's not because they got that information from their continuing education class that was government funded, right, or government directed, or their college education. It's because they went out on their own and figured it out.
All right. Sharon, I see your hand up. Sharon Johnson, do we have her unmuted?
Let me see if I can. This should be good. All right, I'm gonna ask to unmute one more time.
Okay, Sharon, unmute yourself.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Sharon.
Hi. Okay, I had a few questions.
Yes.
Number one was some time ago, I wanted to invest in an IRA and just put some of my money that I have in a fund into that. But I was told that I would have to be taking it out. So, well, I should be taking it out now as opposed to putting money in because of my age.
How old are you?
In your program, excuse me,
How old are you?
71 going on 72.
That is probably a little bit old to put money into a Roth. Yes.
Yeah,
Because I
what I
heard
put in
you-
the chat for you, Sharon, to that question was be mindful of the intent behind it. Many times what happens is we hear these terms such as Roth, and we hear terms, but that's the knowledge piece, but we don't know the why behind it. The Roth IRA is really about someone wanting to delay or pull out the taxes with the expectation that later on in life, they're going to be in a situation where that has grown, so then they don't have to pay the taxes on something again.
You can, but you can still put money into a Roth if you want to do that. There is no age limit to contribute into a Roth at all. And you can actually, as far as the what's it called? RMD, there is no RMD on that. So you do still have the ability to contribute to a Roth. That would just be probably another strategy session. Again, most people, the purpose of a Roth is to be able to not pay taxes later on down the road. And so, you may want to take that money out early. And so we definitely have to have a strategy session around that, I believe, for you.
So just one more thing.
Yeah.
I heard you mention LLC, and right now currently I'm in the same business as Nate.
Yep.
I thought that you set up an LLC when you're making when you're in a certain income bracket rather in the lower income bracket, and that there's a lot of benefits for the LLC, but it's about the amount of money that you're earning on a monthly basis to benefit from an LLC.
So if you have an LLC,
No, I don't currently. I don't currently.
So if you are making more than $1,000 a month after taxes, you're going to want to get an LLC in place. That's your number. So $12,000 a year gross income, you should have an LLC in place. If you're doing a traditional business outside of network marketing or home-based business, you should have an LLC the second that you open.
So you said, did I say 1,000 or 12,000?
1,000 gross income per month, 12,000 in a year.
Okay. Wow.
Either one. Like if you were making $12,000 right now in the last year, you should get an LLC in place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was misunderstood. Okay, so I really do appreciate it. And even with your program, if you come in at one level, would you be able to go up to another level? And basically, based on what Nate is saying, it's an investment program in terms of your education because it's mostly self-paced and self-learning.
It is so self-paced for the webinar, like the vault, the courses that you have, and then there's weekly Q&A. So you can ask me anything you want to on the weekly Q&As. So yeah, we're going to walk you through, and then you also have the ability at any point in time to book a tax strategy session with us as well.
And yes, if you come in at one level, you can always upgrade up to another level. You just get connected in our community to let us know. The one thing I will say though is specifically to Lifetime is we have a price increase on November 3rd because this is just opened up to, strategic people like Nate, who has a database of people he wants to get it out to. So on November 3rd, the price is going to increase from $1,599 to $1,799. So you're going to be able to save some extra money. But then ultimately it will be $2,000. We have 1,000 of those available. We know those are going to sell out by the end of the year. And then after that, it goes up to $2,500. And so if you want to save a little bit extra, then you can come in, but just know that you'll want to ascend quickly into the Lifetime membership if that's what you choose.
If we wanted you to do our taxes, that would be an additional fee in a different session.
They're totally different. Yep.
Yeah.
One is education. So, and again, I want you guys to understand, like, this is not something that any CPA teaches, right? It's not spending hours and hours and hours teaching you education. It's not something you're going to get from a typical firm. That's totally separate. I charge $350 an hour to do this high level training with people. So what I'd rather not do is to charge people that and to have my schedule booked 40 or 50 hours a week for the rest of my life, because that's the way it would be. I would rather teach it high level and teach you everything you need to know inside of Tax Rebels, and then you become a client. It actually makes you a better client because you know all the strategies, and then you come over to us and we implement those strategies at OTB Tax. But you don't have to be an OTB Tax client. You can just get the education and hope for the best that your accountant will allow you to do it, or you can figure it out on your own in TurboTax.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Awesome, Sharon.
And for anyone else that if you have anything, like I said, specific, don't hesitate to reach out. We can do a quick discovery call, or you drop me a text. I can answer some questions to really provide some additional clarification on your specific situation. Stephen says, does the LLC have to be set up in the state you work? Example, I live in Florida, but he works a lot in Maine.
It should be set up in the state that you live in. That's typically because you have to be your own registered agent, or you'd have to get a registered agent in another state that you don't live in. So you have to have an address in the state that you set that up. So I would put it in the state that you live in. That's just the easier way. And then somebody asked, can you set up an LLC for us? Yes, we can. We set up LLCs, we do S Corp elections, we do payroll, we do bookkeeping, we do tax preparation, we do everything. We are a full service accounting firm.
Courtney asked, how many years can you claim a deduction?
Well, you only claim a deduction in the year that you take it. So, I mean, if you had, I think maybe what you might be asking is how many years can you claim expenses over income? That's a big myth that people think is like, I can't continue to claim losses every single year if I have a business. Well, Amazon claimed losses for 11 years when they first got started. So that's not the case. If you are attempting to earn income and you can prove that, it's just the burden of proof comes off of the off the IRS and onto you. After 3 years, you have to prove to them that you're not a hobby, that you are truly attempting to earn an income. So if your income's going up and your expenses are going up, that makes logical sense. That happens a lot of times. And it takes, typically 3 to 5 years to get to a point where on paper you're actually showing income. So that's definitely good. So I hope that helped. But a deduction would be like, if I'm spending money today, I'm gonna write that off this year. So that would be, the one time. If I have like a vehicle or something like that that can be depreciated, it may be that I take the whole deduction this year or write it off over the course of 5 years.
Got it. Perfect.
You got Lisa with a hand raise.
Yep.
She said that was my question.
That was my question. I'm going to allow you to talk though, Lisa, just in case you had another question as well too, and then drop in any minute questions because we'll be wrapping up in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, that was my question. Thank you very much. But do you teach us to, that would be my problem, is recording or showing how, how to record. Would you maintain records? I guess that is my problem. That is my weakness.
Yeah, so the biggest thing, and we have a couple of softwares that we utilize. One is Hurdler. It's very easy to use. It allows you to take pictures of receipts. That's a great, it's inexpensive. It's like $15 a month, allow you to pull in bank statements, credit card statements. It'll go through those transactions for you. It'll also GPS locate your mileage for you. So that's a really good little software that I would suggest you use. But as far as keeping receipts, I mean, yes, we go into some detail on that, but you either are going to keep it paper receipts, or you're going to upload it into a software. There's not much more to it than that. And you should keep them for 6 years.
What was that software? I'm sorry.
Hurdler. I can give you the link on it. It's a company that we partner with. It's called Hurdler. I just sent it to you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, this has been very helpful. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I just saw Allison hands up.
Yep. I'm going to unmute Allison. There, should be good.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
This has been what my husband and I have been looking for. So if we have income that comes in from, let's say, 2 different industries, one is more on the financial side and the other one is in network marketing. Should we have an LLC for both?
So if you're doing just sales, right, direct sales, meaning that could be selling insurance, that could be selling couches, that could be selling network marketing, then you could have one entity, one LLC that both of you own together and that you then treat as an S corp election for tax purposes. The only caveat to that is that if you are not in a place where you need to have an S corp election, you wouldn't want an LLC owned by both of you because you would automatically have to file a partnership tax return and a personal tax return. So if he had a business and an LLC that was single member, you had one and an LLC that was single member, we're not making enough money after expenses to treat as an S corp, then both of those could be treated on your personal tax return as a Schedule C. But yeah, if both of you are making money, then, or one of you are making money, essentially, then I would have that LLC then treated as an S corp. So, and both of you could own it together, and then you would each, whatever the ownership percentage is, we can help you figure that out. Then it would flow back to your personal tax return without having to pay 80% of the self-employment taxes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
One thing I just wanted to point out real quick, and if you have any last minute questions, feel free to drop them in. Just what came up with Allison, with Lisa, with Sharon, and with all the questions that are in here, that is what happens every single week on the live Q&As with Courtney. And so when you start to think about, investing in a membership like this, one thing I want you to think about is your return on investment. And so just imagine having access to Courtney every single week to ask that kind of question, right? And say, hey, this is my current situation. If I do this, or I want to expense these things, I have a vacation coming up that I want to turn into a work expense. How do I do that? How do I structure it? And you get a chance for Courtney to walk that through with you. And then think about it. If you do the monthly, the annual, or even the lifer of, $1,599, you get access to the strategy from Courtney. She gives you the action steps on what to do. And that saves you even just $1,600 in tax savings over that next year. You have now paid for your membership, right? From just one thing of knowledge. Now imagine if you have that every single week for every single month for an entire year. What is the actual return on investment that you're getting from investing yourself to have access to someone that has this information for you, so you don't have to go figure it out on your own, right? So that's the power of what Courtney's been going through inside of these Q&As here. That's something that you get every single week. So you are not in the dark when it comes to all of this stuff, because if you're like me, this is not my specialty, right? And so I want Courtney all day, every day to be the person that can be the go-to to be able to help make this happen. And so just remind yourself of that when you're kind of thinking about this. It's like, man, if I could ask these questions to Courtney, if I can go through all that curriculum and I can take action, how much do I get to save? How much more do I possibly even get to make? How do I set and strategize up my life differently so that my return on investment is 5x, 10x, 20x what I currently am investing in tax rebels?
Yep.
Well, all right. Question from Shelley. One last, I think this will be the last one. Can that, you mentioned property taxes, can that be a deduction you can claim?
It depends on the property. So if you're using whatever the property is for business purposes, yes. So whether it's a portion of it or all of it, it can be tax deductible. So a portion of my house is used for business use of home. Obviously, I can write off a portion of my house or portion of those property taxes. If you're using your vehicle, let's say 80% for business purposes, 80% of your property taxes for your vehicle are tax deductible. If you're using an RV, 51% for business purposes, 51% of your property taxes on the RV would be tax deductible. Investment property, depending on how much of it's being used for business purposes. Like I just had a conversation with a girl today that lives in Puerto Rico. Andrew and Kate live in Puerto Rico. And I'm like, man, they got a $2 million house on the ocean. I'm not talking about Andrew and Kate. I'm talking about this client. And they got a house, $2 million on the ocean, 15 feet away from the ocean. And I was like, hey, how about I buy into that with you. I can get me a house 15 feet on the ocean, from the ocean. I can do the Augusta rule. I can write off $25,000 a day for 14 days on that property, get a massive tax deduction, hang out and have a good time and do some masterminds. Like, that would be 100% tax deductible. Like, if that property were being used for masterminds, either I can do the Augusta rule or I can write off all the expenses. So, I mean, there's so many things that you can do. When you start learning taxes and tax strategy, it becomes fun. It's like, man, how do I just force this to be tax deductible? Because you truly can write off almost anything if you are attempting to earn an income. So there you go.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, guys, Courtney, once again, I really appreciate you and us doing this again. And
Yes.
I tell you what, I know that we'll continue to have some questions. And so, guys, I want to make sure that all you guys, make sure if you haven't already done so, text taxes to 904-544-7424 so that if you have additional questions, you can just drop them directly to me and I can help you to get your questions answered, because November 3rd is going to come really quickly. And
Yes.
so I don't want you in a situation where you're not getting the answers you need, because this should be a no-brainer. I want you to shift from thinking about cost and understand value. Cost versus value. Cost versus value. This was a value play. And remember, money follows value. And I know, again, these terms are not things that are common in the networking space, but I want you to remember that you are the asset. Your responsibility is to grow your capacity. And as you grow, you become more valuable, which means you can provide more value to others. And that's your long-term treasure. And so thanks again, Courtney. Thanks, Kate. I appreciate you guys. Phenomenal session. And what's going to happen next? We'll give them a heads up. What will happen next?
Yeah, so next is, if you want to become a member, just make sure you go to taxrebels.com / like, write this down, make sure you've got the link, taxrebels.com / join - today. That's how you can become a tax rebel. If you have questions for Nate and Nate can help support you, text taxes to 904-544-7424. And then the next thing that's going to happen is we will be sending out a replay. Our team's got to process everything, make sure it's all set and good to go for you all, but you'll get this replay so you can be able to go through and take more notes, think about all the things that Courtney went through and talked about. And then ultimately, for all of you that become a tax rebel, you're going to get an email with instructions and a video that's going to walk you through on your next steps on what to do to make sure that you're starting inside of the curriculum and that you can get on our next onboarding call that'll be happening this week, actually. So you'll have the ability to be able to hop on an onboarding call. Cool.
Perfect.
Courtney, anything else you want to share before we wrap?
I think that's it, guys. I will tell you this, like, I've spent a lot of money trying to figure out how I can get this information to people. And one of the ways that I decided, and I wanted to give back to our clients, like, how, our clients refer us nonstop. And it's like, how can we give back to them? How can we help their organizations, their teams understand all this information? So I'm excited to share it with you, and I appreciate you guys, and I hope to see you in Tax Rebels.
Awesome. All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye,
Take care,
guys.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kate.